With a look at some of the day's top business headlines. For that, I'm joined by our business editor, Stephen Carroll. Good morning, Stephen.
Hi, Catherine.
Now we're going to start off with a look at the markets.
Yes, that's right. A mixed start to the trading day in Europe today. We've got small gains in London, but Paris and Frankfurt both opening in the red. Banks leading the falls today, with mining companies seeing the biggest gains. They've been having a tough time recently because of the stronger dollar, but they are starting to regain some of those losses in trading today. Over in Asia, it was a pretty flat picture on the Asian markets. They were taking their lead from Wall Street, which finished ever so slightly down. You can see the Hang Seng in Hong Kong down by almost 0.5%. Investors still very much focused on the implications of Donald Trump's election and what that means for their money.
Speaking of Donald Trump, he's going to be in focus at a meeting of Asia-Pacific countries in Peru.
The US President-elect won't be at the Economic Cooperation Summit in Lima, but he'll definitely be talked about. President Obama is likely to face uncomfortable questions about his successor's trade policies. This as hopes fade that the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership will be ratified. The 21 countries that make up APEC are now looking for new ways to boost trade. We've been speaking to the economist Linda Wei, who says that Donald Trump's protectionist policies have created an opportunity for China.
So China immediately, the day after the election victory, announced that they're going to start a Beijing-led free trade area of the Asia-Pacific. And right now, China is in Peru over the weekend. So these few days, the Chinese president is getting countries which had previously signed up to TPP, which is American-led and excludes China, to look at the free trade area they're proposing that they will lead. And Peru, which is where this massive trade summit is being held, has already asked to join the China-led free trade area of the Asia-Pacific.
And you can see more of that interview with Linda Wei in our business programme, People and Profit, on air at 15:45 GMT today.
All right, now time for a very French story indeed. An international legal battle has begun to protect an iconic French sweet.
Yeah, they're called the Calissons d'Aix. They're marzipan sweets that come from the south of France. Now, the confectioners that have been making them for hundreds of years are furious after a Chinese company secured the rights to the sweets in China. They're now launching legal action in a bid to protect their sweet tradition. Josh Vardy has the story.
A sweet treat with its medieval origins thought to be in the south of France, and now with the trademark held in China. The Calisson has had protected status in France for over a quarter of a century, but it only applies within the country. French manufacturers in the southern city of Aix-en-Provence have been trying to get global rights for the cake for over a decade, but have been unable to agree on the essential ingredients. In the meantime, the rights were snapped up by Shanghai-based firm Yi Chunlin, who filed a claim with the Chinese intellectual property agency SIPO. Sweetmakers in France are now trying to block that claim.
We filed a lawsuit to block the Chinese brand, highlighting that the product is already protected by a regional quality status and that it's not just a brand. Behind the cake, there's a status that confirms the quality, the basic ingredients, the baking process, and the fact that the Aix-en-Provence Calissons need to be made in Aix-en-Provence.
Calissons are normally made with almonds, melon and mango, but different producers have their own individual, sometimes secret recipes, making it complicated to find a list of ingredients they can all agree on.
We have a secret way of making ours using a specific aroma. It's a house specialty, so we don't talk about it too much.
By filing a counterclaim with SIPO, Calisson creators in southern France don't just want to protect the identity of their cakes, they also want to ensure a mark of quality when they export their produce across Asia.
Staying in France, where the unemployment rate rose unexpectedly between July and September. The mainland rate edged up slightly to 9.7% and reached 10% when France's overseas territories were included. That's despite monthly live register figures showing a drop in the numbers of jobless in France in September.
All right, finally now we've got a story that's pretty much a dream for any child out there or anyone still in touch with their inner child. A child's pirate treasure that's turned out to be worth an absolute fortune.
This is a story about a handful of coins that were given to a boy by his grandfather in Britain. One of them has been sold for more than €260,000 at auction. That's because it included one of the UK's rarest coin, a Queen Anne Vigo 5 guinea gold piece. It's one of 20 that were minted from gold, seized by the British from Franco-Spanish treasure ships in 1702. It turns out the owner had given it to his grandson to play with as pirate treasure, the real value only discovered many years later. So quite a happy find in the bottom of a toy chest.
Very nice, yeah. I hope they can buy themselves some nice pirate costumes or something to play with now they've sold the coins. Thanks very much, Stephen Carroll.